very much, Joan, and thank you to the organisers for this event and the opportunity to discuss Greece. When I was appointed Finance Minister in July 2015, 1 out of 5 people I met congratulated me, and the other 4 offered me their commiserations. So I'm hoping now that by June that ratio will have changed. And I think there's good reasons to hope that that indeed will change. Because in fact, the news from the Greek economy, especially at the micro level, is very promising. So we have had industrial production rising in March about 8.7% year on year. This is the 6th consecutive month of positive growth. Manufacturing has been particularly strong, 8.6% year on year in March. Sectors with strong performance include petroleum products, good products, basic metals and pharmaceuticals. Retail sales are up 4.6% year on year in January-February. Passenger car registration rose by 22% year on year in the period January to April. Unemployment is beginning to fall. We've had in the last 4 months a net increase in jobs of 125,000. Exports of goods are especially doing well. In 2016 they rose in real terms by 6%. Now, why do we have, given all that, disappointing growth figures at the end of the last quarter in 2016 and the first quarter 2017? And the basic answer is one word: investment. And the answer to why investment has not picked up as much is the Greek government believes a lack of clarity about the future prospects of the Greek economy, the programme, and so on. It seems to me now that there is a widespread agreement that Greece has lived up to its commitments on the reform side. In fact, I think most people have been surprised by the extent that we've met those commitments and the extent and depth of those reforms, from the public administration to finance, from banks, corporate governance in banks, to labour markets, to a whole set of issues that has changed Greece radically. So after so much effort, what the Greek government is asking for is clarity on the debt issue. And this is what was not on the table on the 22nd of May Eurogroup. Now, why is clarity so important? Clarity is important because it's important to both the Greek population, that after so many years where 27% of growth, we've lost 27% of GDP, there is a prospect of a new beginning. But it's also very important for investors. Investors need to know how Greece is going to be able to respond to its debt responsibilities over the short, medium to long run. So it is absolutely crucial for growth that we have that clarity, and that is what we're asking for in the June Eurogroup. Now, who am I asking clarity from? Well, I'm asking clarity from the IMF. The IMF in the last Eurogroup considered that the debt measures taken or to be taken were not enough for debt sustainability. Now, in part, this is because they have very pessimistic long-term growth rates of about 1%. Now, this seems to me extraordinarily pessimistic, and as an economist, as a professional economist, I'm not so keen on such long-term forecasts. I mean, consider Germany and the United Kingdom in the 1960s, let's say 1966, forecasting unemployment, say, for 2003. Is there anybody who could say that that forecast would have had any sense? Nobody would have known the fall of Bretton Woods. Nobody would have known the first oil crisis. Nobody would have known the second oil crisis. Nobody would have known the ERM crisis. And of course they would have wildly undershot their unemployment forecast, given that both those countries, those economies in the middle 60s had more or less full employment. Just as a paraphrase, in my first economic textbook when I was a 16-year-old in Britain, this textbook said that no British government could possibly win an election with unemployment above 3%, just for a historical factor. So what we're asking from the IMF is this clarity. The IMF promised to join eventually the programme in August 2015. We are now 2 years after that, and we've only got 14 months of the programme to go. It seems to me that it's time for the IMF to make up its mind what it wants to do and what it thinks needs to be done. Secondly, I want to turn to some countries like Germany and Holland. Now, Germany and Holland insisted that the IMF be on the programme, either because they thought that would ensure a stricter programme, or because they thought that the European institutions did not have the technical expertise. But if that is the case, it can't be that the IMF is good for the structural reforms and advice on structural reforms and agreeing structural reforms, but it has nothing to say on the debt needed, the debt relief needed. So if Holland and Germany think the IMF is a wonderful institution that knows more than European institutions on many issues, then surely it should reach a compromise with the IMF on its technical expertise on the debt sustainability. And now let me turn to the ECB, and I have the advantage of speaking after Benoit, so I can say what I think. I mean, as you all know, the ECB, just like our Lord, works in mysterious ways. Benoit said that he was he set out some criteria of how we could get into QE. He didn't tell us whether he shares the pessimistic growth assumptions of the IMF. Has there been a strong reform programme? I mean, I find the IMF's view idiosyncratic. I mean, for the last 2 years, they've been part of the programme and advising. We've carried out reforms. We've now agreed a new reform package for them beyond the programme, and they still think growth is only going to be 1%. What is the ECB view? Does the ECB think that the package of measures in the May Eurogroup discussions, in other words, 2 weeks ago, was it enough or wasn't it enough for debt sustainability? It is very important that we have European institutions that act in a European way, independent of non-European institutions, and stand by their own opinion. I think European citizens should ask for nothing less. Finally, I want to point to an ethical dimension of what I'm saying. Now, as a professional economist, I consider one of the problems of economic science that it liberated itself, in quotation marks, from moral science. I once gave a paper in Cambridge, so I could be as rude as I like since I was from Oxford, on the 100 years of economic science being separated from moral science. As some of you might know, originally, 100 years ago, the economics was part of the moral sciences. Yeah? And my statement was that was a big disaster. That the lack of ethical issues within economics leads to bad policies which are not accepted by large strands of people. Ethics about distribution, ethics about ecological concerns, and so on. And I completely agree with Joe that those people who think, because of European growth improvement over the last year, and what's been happening in politics, if you think that we've heard the last of Wilders, and if you think we've heard the last of Le Pen, it would be a serious mistake for Europe looking towards the future. I think if we do not have an ethical dimension to our policy and to European institutions, we are still in deep trouble as Europeans. And the ethics means that when a country has done its part, when it's been asked to do a reform strategy, when it's carried out those reforms, then it really is, the burden really is on all other institutions to find a solution. It cannot be right, it cannot be ethically right, and it cannot be an ethical message to the rest of the Europeans that Greece has carried out all its reforms, and the European member states, together with the IMF, cannot provide clarity. We can all disagree about the extent of debt relief needed, and there's a big argument and good arguments on all sides. But clarity and reaching consensus should also be part of the answer. Also, I think one of the least attractive features of the European Union and the Eurozone is kicking the can down the road. We don't decide now. We've got politics in X country, we've got an election in B country, and we just kick the things down the road. Why is that bad? Because when you eventually have to take a decision in Europe, you're usually faced with a binary choice of something bad or something even worse. And you've excluded lots of other choices that you could have taken if you'd taken the decision early enough and in a timely fashion. So it's absolutely crucial if Europe is going, and the Eurozone in particular, is going to build on some of the things that Pierre already said looking to the forward, that this can kicking down the road stops. And thirdly and lastly, and perhaps most importantly, for 20-30 years we've had an economic model that has excluded an important part of both the middle class and the working class. That issue has to be addressed. If people want a European Union that is integrated, then middle class and lower class people must see their faces in that economic development, must see that although they suffered most in the crisis, they will participate in the growth phase of the cycle. If they do not participate in the growth cycle of the cycle, then be assured that we will not get out of this crisis, and it will return perhaps in a different way, in a different financial crisis, in a different foreign crisis. But for all that I've said, I remain confident. I remain confident that the Europeans will be able to create those institutions and continue with those institutions that do not kick the can down the road, that take decisions in a timely fashion, and take those decisions that can give all their citizens a belief that the decisions will be taken for the good of Europe as a whole and for the good of all citizens of Europe as a whole. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That's great because you've thrown out lots of questions, which obviously I'm going to allow them more to answer some of them. But I will also pose them in subsequent sessions. I'm sure you all remember them when we have other representatives of the institutions up here on the platform. So before I let Corinne come back, my question, I guess, to you then, Minister, is you're asking for clarity on the specific medium-term debt relief measures. So would you be satisfied on June the 15th with an agreement that finalises the second review, allowing the disbursement of the next tranche in time for the July payment, but which simply clarifies the measures but leaves an actual agreement on that until 2018, after the end of the programme? Is clarity alone enough?
Well, let me make it clear. Firstly, the first point is that all sides are agreed on the Eurogroup that Greece has met its responsibilities. So the second review, as concerns the policy package, is all but done. There are a few things we still have to do, which are technically difficult, ministerial decisions, secondary legislation, and ministerial decisions, but nobody considers that. Secondly, nobody is saying that clarity means taking debt measures now. The agreement of the Eurogroup of 2016 was what measures would be taken at the end of the programme, assuming a successful ending of the programme, the reforms being carried out, and so on and so forth. So when I say clarity, I want a message that says that the reforms that have been taken, the short-term measures on debt, which, as you know, are ongoing and continuing, the medium-term measures that are going to be specified in some way is enough to put Greece on a path of debt sustainability. And that, I think, it would be interesting to know what Benoit thought of that. But it's not only Benoit, it's also the financial markets. I mean, in a sense, if the financial markets say that is not a canned kicking exercise, then I would be happy. In 2012, the previous minister, not that 100 miles away from me at this moment, did an agreement on debt. One week later, the Financial Times, I can't remember the economist to be honest, and the Wall Street Journal said this isn't a solution, you kick the can down the road. What I want on the 21st of June, in other words, a week after the 15th of June Eurogroup, is the Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Handelsblatt, or whatever, echo to say that this time the Europeans didn't provide, the Eurogroup didn't kick the can down the road, and it's provided a path for confidence for investors, the ECB, and all of the players in the market.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. So then there's a few questions for you. So what is the ECB view? Are these measures, medium-term measures, sufficient to put green debt on the path to sustainability, to make it viable? Do you agree with the IMF's pessimistic growth forecast? And how does that relate to your criteria for Greece joining the Union program?
Yeah, let me clarify further the way we see that discussion at the ECB, since clarity is the name of the day, and rightly so. The minister said that sometimes the ECB operates in mysterious ways. I would say that a lot of the mystery that shrouds some of our decisions is in the eyes of the beholder. I mean, not you, UK, but generally the outside world, projecting on the central bank decisions, considerations that do not belong to us, do not belong to monetary policy, and that does a lot to explain the mystery. Meaning that if there is clarification on the political process around us, that makes it easier for us to take decisions, and that's why it has to be a sequence. So it's not so mysterious. I mean, the Governing Council at some point will have a discussion on including Greece in the PSPP, in the private sector purchase program. For that, what do we need, given that Greece doesn't have the required credit rating to be automatically to be part of that? We want to see an adjustment program which works, and there is no doubt that this we have. That's now totally out of question. A staff-led agreement has been reached on the policy parts of the review. It has been blessed, although not formally, but for practical purposes by the Euro, so that's on the table. We have a program with a review that works. And then the Governing Council wants to see that Greek debt is sustainable. And we can understand that when you start buying an asset, you want it to be safe. So we act as a credit committee, so having that discussion.
And more interjection.
Yeah. Can I just go to the end of the process?
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to small interjection.
Keep it in your mind. We'll let him in case he loses his way.
Let me make this though, Benoit, because what you're saying is everything happens, then you make your decision. Let me tell you how I feel. And how I will feel on the 15th of June to make a decision whether it's a good deal or not. It's like I'm a football trainer preparing my team to play a match, and nobody's told me where the goalposts are. Are they 2 yards away, 4 yards away, 8 yards away, 16 yards? I don't actually know now, going forward, from what you've said, what are the goalposts? And in any game, in any bargaining, negotiating, I should know the goalposts. Are they this far away, or that far away? That's why I think you work in mysterious ways.
But it's not so much about you anymore. You've done your part of the job. And I think everyone around the table acknowledges that the government has done its part of the job in terms of delivering on policies and agreeing on the review. And so now what remains is about the step measures that will make that sustainable, which is not really about you. I mean, that's a discussion between your own governments and the IMF. And we have, so just to come back to the sequence, we have, of course, the Governing Council will have an independent view. We're not tied to the IMF assessment in any sense. We are an independent institution. The IMF will produce a DSA. It is an important input to the IMF as a respected institution with lots of technical experience in doing DSAs. So we have to acknowledge that, to use it as an input. We also obviously have that same discussion with the Commission and with the ESM, and then the Governing Council will take the decision. But for that, we need to know the measures. And in the Eurogroup last week, there were no measures. I mean, the Eurogroup didn't come with a statement, with a decision on take measures. And for good reasons, because that's still a discussion, that's in the flux, and it's still being reviewed and fine-tuned and made better, hopefully. So when we know what the finance ministers of the Eurozone are ready to consider in terms of maturity extension, in terms of rescheduling, that improves debt sustainability within the framework set in the May 16 agreement. That, as we all say, it's very clear, and it has to be clear also to the IMF, by the way, that anything that can be done here has to fit in that framework that was decided in May 16. I don't think there is any option to go out of that framework. But there are different ways to do it within that framework. And that is a political input. That's not for us to decide on how the claims of the EFSF or the ESM have to be rescheduled. The ECB has no authority. That's not our money. That is for the ESM board governors and the Eurogroup to discuss. So we need to acknowledge who's responsible for that. The ECB does not have a say on the way the money of the ESM is used. Therefore, that money belongs to European taxpayers, and that's a discussion being led by finance ministers. So when we know what they are willing to do, what they are ready to do, we have that discussion in the Council, and you can be sure, Euclid, that we have it in a way that will be relevant. We're not tied to it.
But you understand that I will be taking a decision whether it's a good Eurogroup statement without knowing whether it's a good Eurogroup statement for you. So the sequencing doesn't help Greece. So I don't know when I decide what, because obviously the previous statement said the IMF didn't think the debt was sustainable. So that was a terrible one. But let's say we get something better. How will I know when I'm there to decide, is this a good deal for Greece? Does it provide the clarity? Unless I know what you're likely to do.
Yeah, but here I'm sorry to say that the whole construct consisting in taking as a measure, as a gauge of success of the whole adjustment effort of Greece, the ultimate eventual decision of the Governing Council of the ECB to include Greek bonds in the private sector purchasing program. That's not the right way to look at the process. And it's not especially about Greece. Maybe that tells us more generally a lot about how much the policy process in Europe is flawed in a way. That discussion should be about the sustainability of the real economy. That this discussion should be about what's enough to make investors, domestic investors and international investors come back to Greece. That's about the future of the real economy in Greece. That shouldn't be about the monetary policy consequences of decisions taken by the Eurogroup. I think there is something wrong here which goes beyond Greece.
Okay, thanks very much. Now, has anybody from the floor got a question that relates to this discussion that we're having here? Because this is a very different situation in which we find ourselves compared with 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, where it seems that everybody is on the same page now, agreeing that the Greek authorities have fulfilled their side of the bargain, and yet for quite a long time now, and certainly since the start of the year, the institutions seem to be engaged in this kind tug of war on the issue of the debt and the sustainability of the debt. The ball's in the court of the institutions, and I'm not sure how this is going to be resolved. Maybe we'll get some more answers in our later sessions. But is there anybody got a question for either of the speakers before we move on to the next session? Okay, here. We got a mic.
My name is Bettina Brück of Luther Law Firm. Mr. Tsakalotos, my question is, do you really think there can be any clarity before the German elections? I think it wouldn't be a popular move in Germany to promise debt relief to Greece.
Thank you.
I'm not in a position to say what would be popular or not popular in Germany. I would just say that Germany wants the IMF involved in the program, and it wants the program to be successful, and thirdly, it wants not to be too specific on debt. Now, we can't have all those three things together, it seems to me, as it's like an impossibility triangle. So somewhere it has to give. Either the IMF is not involved, or it gives some clarity to debt, or the program fails. Yes? So it has to break in one bit of that triangle, and that's an impossibility triangle. My suggestion is that it breaks a bit more clarity. It's not measures to be taken now, and it's a continuation of the May Eurogroup, not the one we just had, the May 2016 Eurogroup, which said that the Europeans would provide greater clarity for the participation of the IMF. So I think that the German people understand, if they understand how much Greece has done. A number of people referred to the 4.2 primary surplus. A reason why that happened is that we're at last getting to grips with tax evasion. I've spoken to a lot of German people who say to me, yeah, but you're not getting after the big guys here. And so I think that should be explained to the German people, that now at last, not only are they doing the reforms, but they're actually increasing the flexibility of VAT. They've got a voluntary disclosure program to get people taking money out of Greece. They've got a whole process where they're cross-checking people's bank accounts with previous tax returns to see. So if you had a bank account of €1 million and in the last 5 years you've just declared €2,000 income a year, there's something wrong. I mean, you might have another source of income, yeah? So if the German people think, and I think there is a very strong Europeanist streak in the German people, that they want to be part of a united Europe, and they understand that Greece has done these reforms. It is at last dealing with the issues of corruption and tax evasion. I think it's not a big ask to provide that greater clarity on debt relief.
Thanks.
Maybe one other way to put it, not only to the German audience, but to the whole European audience, and I think that's very good. What I'm going to say is very consistent with what you just said, is that it's also with economic efficiency. It would serve no purpose to keep the Greek economy for 1 more year in the limbo. It would eventually cost more to European taxpayers. It is time, all conditions are met now to make a difference. And that's also what Euclid said in his introductory remarks, that it's time now to take a series of decisions that can make a significant difference for the Greek economy, for investors, and to put Greece on a clearly sustainable path. And waiting 1 more year to do so will only cost money. There is no value of waiting here. It's time to do it. It may be difficult, but it's time to do it.
Okay, so there's one more question, I think, at the back. Somebody had their hand up right here? Nope, it's been answered. Very quick question before we finish. The gentleman here in the middle.
Thank you. My name is Akmal Azam. I'm the MBA student from John Hopkins University. A question for the Minister is that what are you expecting from June 15 meeting? And if you don't get what you expect, would Greece and Greece government consider getting out of EU or Eurozone?
Now, on the second part of the question, we took that decision in July 2015 on that we wanted to be part of the Eurozone for very many reasons. My own reasons are that I think there are just far, apart from the economic success, I think there are far too many problems that can only be addressed at a supranational national level, from issues to do with ecological issues, from tax evasion, and the Commission has been doing some great work on tax evasion and base erosion. There's a whole series of financial crises that I don't think countries can go at it alone. So this isn't just a contingent decision of the Greek government that we want to be in the Eurozone. It's a political, ideological decision that Europe needs to be stick together. And my own view is that if Europe does disintegrate, it will not be good for the citizens. We will get the kind of nationalism we got in the 1930s, competitive devaluations and so on. So that is that. So I'm not looking at this in a negative way. I'm looking at the positive way. I think the onus now is on the member states and institutions to find a compromise that provides that clarity. I think people can make their own minds up for that it's a very big ask for the good of Europe and for Greece.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. That's been a full and frank discussion, I think, of the issues to be continued, I'm sure, in subsequent sessions. But thank you very much, gentlemen, and we're going to move on to our next session.